the two conditional use permits. But first of all, my name is Carl Granrath. I'm the hearing examiner for tonight's hearings. The purpose of tonight's hearings is to allow me to take testimony and other evidence on the matters that are pending. And then from that, I will have a record for each file, and I write a recommendation that gets forwarded to your county commissioners, who ultimately have the decision-making authority for these proposals. So my recommendation will come in within 2 weeks of tonight's hearing, and then staff will set that to go in front of your county commissioners. I see we have a lot of people signing up, so if you wish to give testimony, we'll have you sign up, and when we get to those portions of the right permits, anyone who's here who may not have signed up, basically everyone will have an opportunity to give their public testimony if they so wish. So a general process for each permit will be staff will introduce the applications. I can ask some questions, and then we'll move to the public comment portion of the hearing. We are on Zoom right now, so we'll have an opportunity for people who appear via Zoom to give testimony as well. And just a couple quick rules for the public comment portion. I'll go over it again when we get there. I don't think it's going to be much of an issue for tonight's hearings, but please just come up to the lectern, state your name and address, direct all your testimony towards me, not anyone else in the crowd, and then anyone who else is in the crowd, please try to keep it down, no comments or cheering, jeering, that kind of thing. So those are kind of the general procedures and rules for tonight. I'll go over them again when we get to public testimony. But first of all, we did have an initial permit that was scheduled for tonight, which was Zone 23-0006 Brotherton. And if Mr. Finkel can speak to that really quickly.
Good evening, Mr. Hearing Examiner. For the record, Vlad Finkel with Kootenai County Community Development. This is a bit of a unique circumstance that we're in tonight because the request ZON 23-006 by Mr. Brotherton for a rezone of a parcel of land from agriculture to commercial has been withdrawn as of September 10th of this year. This was last Tuesday. For that reason, the department closed out the file and none of the documents or a staff report were sent over for your review. I do want to make it clear on the record to the public who are here tonight to speak to that request is that none of the information that they submitted throughout the review process has been forwarded to the hearing examiner, nor has a staff report been prepared by staff with a recommendation for tonight's hearing. Additionally, I'd like to point out that this hearing had to be open this evening because we, as a department, had done a legal notice and posted the property and also sent a legal notice to Coeur d'Alene Press for tonight's hearing. That was done prior to the applicant's decision to withdraw the application. So the individuals who are here tonight, if you so wish, you may allow them to speak, but the record is closed. So if they want to state something in the record, and if you want to entertain that, that's certainly your position. But there's really nothing to review tonight. So that's a brief introduction to this request.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not going to take public comment on that. So if anyone is here for that zone change, apologize for you coming out tonight. But as Mr. Finkel just said, the application has been withdrawn. So I'm not going to make a recommendation. It's not going to go in front of the county commissioners. As a formality, I'll open and close the hearing, and then we'll move on to what I think are the two applications that everyone is here for. If anyone disagrees with that and is really ardent about making some comments on the zoning, I'm willing to be persuaded, but I don't think I see anyone who signed up for that. So as a matter of formality, 6:04 p.m., I'm going to open the public hearing for Zone 23-0006 Brotherton. State again for the record that the application was withdrawn, but we are opening and closing the hearing based on the fact that notice went out to the public that there would be a hearing tonight. I've decided that it's in the best interest of everyone's time tonight to not take public comment on that, as well as the fact that public comment is not going to sway the decision anyway. So it is now 6:05 p.m. and I'm going to close the public hearing for Zone 23-0006 Brotherton. And we're going to move on to our two CUPs. And I'm just going to do them in the order in which they were presented to me. Oh, well, all right, looks like that was okay. I apologize that I didn't think that there were that many people here for the zone change, but it has been withdrawn. If it's submitted again, you'll have another opportunity to come and comment on the proposal. So I apologize for you for making the trip out here, but thank you for having a time and interest to come and comment on it.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good night. All right. Well, that's exactly why we did that. So great. So now 6:06 p.m. I'm going to move us to the first conditional use permit that I have on our agenda, which is CUP 24-0004, Syringa Heights Reservoir. And Mr. Finkel for the county.
Thank you. This is a request by Syringa Heights Water Association. The request is case number CUP 24-0004, and the project site is located east of town off of East Mullen Road with access off of Sawmill Point Road, which is a private gated road to the subject property. As you can see, based on the aerial overlay map, it's a very small parcel of land. In fact, it's only 1/4 of an acre in size, and it's located at the top of at the top of this hill with a few residences that gain access off of the same access road that connects to Mullen Trail. The subject property is zoned agricultural suburban, and the comp plan designation is transitional. The subject property is located within the city of Coeur d'Alene area of city impact. Pursuant to the City of Coeur d'Alene area of city impact agreement, we are obligated to solicit comments from the city and have them respond within 30 days to give us any feedback on whether or not there's any concerns or any recommendations or requests that the city may make. Typically, from my experience, the city is more involved when it comes to subdivision review process, where they review their Title 16 road design standards and may apply them to roads that are within the county jurisdiction if those are not, if those do not meet city standards. What the applicant is requesting, they currently have an existing water tower on site. It's currently serving, if I'm not mistaken, 79 residences. What the applicants are saying is they would like to expand or improve the existing non-conforming use of the site, and it would be for a public utility complex facility, to expand it by increasing the size of the existing tower, water tower, as well as adding a second one to the site. And that would provide for additional water supply as well as fire suppression needs for its constituents. This is the photo of the existing tower on the property. As you can see, there's very limited vegetation on it. The tower is painted neutral colors to somewhat blend in with the surrounding trees. The intent will be to increase the size of the existing one and build another one with additional capacity to serve the neighborhood residents. During the agency comment period, we solicit comments from all the jurisdictional agencies. Everyone appears to be in support of this application. There were really no concerns raised by any of the agencies. Because this is a private system, our building division will require building permits for the construction and as well as for site disturbance. And the reason I bring this to light is because typically for a public system, there are some provisions in the building code that exempt public entities from having to apply for a building permit. So in this case, they would have to apply for a permit. I spoke with Idaho Department of Water Resources. I'm not sure if there's any need for additional water right, but that's something that I think the applicant will work with DEQ as well as IDWR to address and to make sure that they're in compliance with their requirements. DEQ really was in support of this application, and they will review the construction plans as well as the design of the system to meet their public water system standards. The existing system, I believe, and I don't believe, I know that for a fact, Idaho Department of Land has issued a permit for the applicant to draw water out of the lake that is then filtered and serves the residents. I don't think there's any need for any additional review or an additional permit. I think one was issued in early 2000s. And perhaps if you have a question in that regard, you could ask the project engineer to address that when they come up to the podium. During the public comment period, we received one comment that was opposed, and there were a number of concerns which were raised, one of which is the fact that the county failed to provide adequate notice. There was an error in the original notice for the August hearing. We understood that that was an issue. Even though we reposted the property at that point, we already sent out an inaccurate legal notice to the adjacent property owners as well as to Coeur d'Alene Press. So the Joan Woodard, another hearing examiner with the county, had taken that under advisement and stated, okay, she's not going to proceed with the hearing until the county does a new formal and accurate notice for tonight's hearing, and this has been forwarded for your review. Other than that, there were really no concerns that staff felt were of an issue to support this request. We believe that the applicant is able and will mitigate all the impacts associated with the request through conditions of approval that were written into the staff report, and we support this application. I stand for any questions that you have for me at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Finkel, and I did review the file and your staff report, so thank you for a thorough job on both of those. I have no questions for you at this time. Thanks. All right, so I do have, and we'll start with the applicant, either Ashley Williams and or Logan, I guess whoever wants to come up for the applicant first, and just go ahead and state your name for the record.
Okay, my name is Ashley Williams with Welch Comer Engineers. Thank you. Do a quick presentation. Okay. So I'm going to go through a little bit of the background of the project, the current system condition, the improvements we're proposing, and a couple of project examples as well. So a little bit of background, the existing water reservoir was constructed in 1994, and improvements to it were made in 2004. The existing reservoir is currently deficient with respect to water storage capacity per the Idaho rules for public drinking water systems. And the reservoir improvements are part of several capital improvements to serve the current system customers as well as future growth. A little bit overview of the whole system, kind of shown here in blue. The system pulls from the lake through an intake system, pumping it up the hill to a treatment system here, and then through another booster station up to the reservoir site here. There is another small booster pump station that serves these lots up here. And then in terms of growth, the plan consists of infill of vacant properties within the blue area, and then a new growth area on the red shown there. So the existing site, as Vlad showed, has the existing reservoir here on a utility tract within this development. And the reservoir is currently 100,000 gallons. We already have seen this picture, so I'll go past it quickly. Have a couple other views there. The booster station that I mentioned earlier sitting right there. We did prepare a water system facility plan for the system, then that went through all of the capacity requirements for the system, and a result of that was the capital improvements that we proposed for the system. That was reviewed and approved by DEQ in August of last year. Just a brief overview on the storage. So for the current system, we have 79 EDUs or equivalent dwelling units that are being served now. The total storage required by DEQ is about 167,000. So the 100,000 gallon tank does not provide sufficient storage for that. So to meet system build out, which consisted of that infill of growth as well as the new parcel, we would need approximately 268,000 gallons. And so we're proposing between the new tank and modifying the existing tank, 282,000 gallons total, which would allow us to meet those requirements. So again, the proposal is a new 99,000 gallon steel water reservoir and adding 83,000 gallons to the existing tank for a total of 282,000 gallons. The county setback requirements dictated the size and the location of the new reservoir, which is here. And then the existing reservoir, just to clarify, we're adding height to it. So we're not expanding it out, but adding height to it. And we are requesting a variance for the location of the existing reservoir because it does not meet current county setback requirements. So the overview, which Vlad already had on the screen, shows some of the setbacks and the location of the new reservoir with respect to the existing reservoir. And Vlad had these as well, but just some renderings of what that will look like. We are showing the landscape berm that is required by the county as well. Some examples, these are much larger tanks. This is up at Hayden Canyon, north of Hayden. This one is a 1 million gallon tank, so much larger. And this is up at Priest River. This is a 440,000 gallon tank, so also larger, but kind of gives an idea of what that can look like. That is all I have. Any questions for me?
Yeah, I guess real quick, we can just reiterate that point. So there's going to be a vegetative berm and planting
Correct.
of trees around it too.
Correct.
The trees will eventually grow and help to screen the area.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, I have no further questions from you at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. Did any of the other applicant representatives wish to speak? All right, so we're going to move to the public comment portion of this. So again, I'm just going to call you up in the order I have you stacked up here. You can always say you have changed your mind, and if you put you do not wish to speak, I'm going to ask you again just to make sure, because this is your only opportunity for public comment on these proposals. So just come up and state your name and address for the record, and then you have up to 5 minutes. You do not have to take the full 5 minutes, but you have up to 5 minutes for your comment, and we will have a timer for that. So first up, I have Kirk Crum. Come on up, sir.
Thank you. I've lived in Syringa Heights for 27 years. They've been, and Syringa Water Company has been our provider of services. Currently, there's 2 HOAs under Syringa Heights. I'm president of Syringa Heights Property Owners, Inc., the initial and an additional 4th edition that are all located on Mullen Trail Road and Whitetail Crossing. There's 25 lots. The remainder is, and then our president is here from down below for Syringa Heights. I think it's 5th through 9th edition. And then there's Syringa Grove that's also served by this system. Some Silver Beach residences, and then recently, right adjacent to the water tank, is Camas Estates. Those 3 or 4 lots that are up there. So for 4 lots. And that's north of the freeway. We're obviously on the south side of the freeway. There are approximately 79 current users. I believe that she just covered that. And a planned total expansion of 121. I believe the number of current platted lots is like 91. Is that right? Okay. 91. So Syringa Water, as you just learned, they enlisted Welch Comer Engineering and Idaho Department of Environmental Quality recommendations to meet the deficits for pumping and for storage capacity. They all, just so everybody knows, Syringa Water has already replaced all but 2 of the pumps And the only reason for the delay is because they haven't been able to get them, okay? And they're planned for October. And then in addition to that, they installed a new computerized water system controls. The added water storage is essential to mitigate the current and future water storage deficits required by the Department of Environmental Quality and Kootenai County Fire's current fire flow requirements that she kind of went over. On behalf of our Syringa Heights HOA residents, we're all in support of that, obviously, and wish approval. Glad to see that the staff is going to recommend approval for the system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, I have Gary Groover, who may wish to speak. Sorry if I messed up your last name.
No, that's good. You did.
Okay, thank you.
I'm fine.
All right, thank you, sir. John Goad may wish to speak. Sorry if I got your last name wrong. Just go ahead and state your name and address for the record.
My name is John Getty. My address is 3636 East Nature Heights Lane, Coeur d'Alene. And my concern with the existing storage is fire flow and capacity for fire. We live in a forested area, and if a fire got started there, we'd be out of water much quicker than we need to be. And I encourage support for the additional reservoirs.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, and Stephen Brent does not wish to speak, but if you would like to speak, okay. All right, Pete Capano does not wish to speak. All right. Robert Farrell may wish to speak. All right, come on up, sir. State your name and address for the record.
My name is Robert Farrell, 1913 South Charlotte Lane, which is located in Syringa Grove and serviced by Syringa Water Company. As Welch Comer pointed out, the system is currently in a deficit that needs to be corrected, and it'll only get worse as new properties come online. And I'm the president of Syringa Grove, and as a homeowners association, we support the expansion of this system. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Kim Baumgarten.
My name's Ken Baumgarten, 2766 South Helen Drive, Coeur d'Alene. I'm in the Syringa Heights homeowners amongst them. I'm in agreement completely with what Mr. Crum has stated in his presentation and the like. Same thing with Mr. Getty and also Mr. Farrell. Our major concern is fire flow and protection of our homes. It's currently inadequate if we were to have a serious fire in that area. And we've been waiting many years for this increased fire flow capability. So I support that 100%, that it be granted.
Thank you, sir. And I believe I have the last one is Adam Oskamp. Does not wish to speak. Correct. All right. Is there anyone on Zoom who wishes to give public comment on this application?
We've got several. Is anybody on Zoom? If you'd wish to speak, now is your time for CUP 0004 Syringa Heights Reservoir. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
Just a second. We'll see if anyone connects on Zoom. And
Going once. Going twice. Sold.
okay. Was that Mr. Crum? Would you like to make a further comment?
I just remember he commented that's currently a private system. Syringa Water is filed with the Idaho Public Utilities Commission to become a public water system with tariffed rates and that thing. And it's not in the process currently.
Great, thank you. Mr. Finkel, would you like to make a further comment?
So in light of the new information provided by the HOA president. I'm not sure when the status of the private water system will be converted to a public water system, but if that happens before they apply for building permits, if they provide the necessary documentation to confirm that it's a public system, then perhaps our building division will change their position on the need of building permits.
Okay, I'll take a look at the conditions and see if anything's appropriate or not, but also good information for the residents to know. All right, I have no further questions, and I believe I have enough information in the record as it exists right now. I did see a couple other people come into the room. Were you wanting to comment on the water reservoir project? Okay, just making sure. As I said, I believe I have enough information in the record on which to base my recommendation to your county commissioners. So I am going to close the record and close the hearing for CUP 24-0004 Syringa Heights Reservoir. Thank you all very much for coming tonight. And again, I will have my recommendation to staff as soon as possible, and it'll go in front of your county commissioners for decision.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, I'll give a second for some people to file out. Okay, it is now 6:27 p.m., still September 19th, 2024. I'm going to open the public hearing for CUP 23-0015 Flying Arrow Ranch. Mr. Finkel?
Thank you, Mr. Hearing Examiner. This is a request, case number CP 23-0015 for a privately owned recreational facility, Flying Arrow Ranch by Ashley Foundation, Inc. The subject property is located on the east side of Coeur d'Alene Lake. It's located near Moscow Bay and just west of Beauty Bay. The subject property or the subject site or the project area comprises of approximately 238 acres north of Highway 97, but the property as a whole is approximately 353 acres. The owner and the manager of the property resides on the south side of Highway 97, and they will be the ones that will be overseeing the project site and the events that will take place on the site should the conditional use permit be approved. So the overall acreage of the property is 353 acres, consisting of 3 adjoining parcels of land, 1 on the north side and 2 adjoining east and on the south, further south and across Highway 97. But only the northern area of 230 acres will be part of this project area. As you can see, based on this Google Earth map, this is Highway 97 heading east and west direction. This is the project area. Albion Road is a public road that heads north from Highway 97, and then it turns into Moscow Bay Road, and then eventually to Aripa Road, that then provides access to parcels beyond that are waterfront and further west and north of the subject property. I'd like to point out that Albion Road is a public road that's under the jurisdiction of East Side Highway District, but Moscow Bay Road as well as Aripa are both private roads. And as you have read through the documents and staff report, staff had done significant research on the status of these roads, and both Aripa as well as Moscow Bay Road, we were not able to find any documentation that would confirm legal access to the subject site. We had the discussion with the property owner with the applicant's representative to address legal access, even though it appears that it has been physically used for some time by the applicant, because some of the improvements that I will talk about in this application are already on site, and it looks like they may have used it for some time. So this project was placed on hold for quite some time, and then the engineer was able to negotiate with the adjoining property owners to the east of the subject site, the Stowells, the legal access, which has not been recorded at this time because the applicant is hesitant to do so until they know what the decision on this matter is, which is fine. We have done this in the past. We can place conditions of approval that would mitigate impacts based on the decision to approve the request. The project area is located in both restricted residential zone as well as rural zone. And the comp plan designation for the northern piece is shoreline and country for the other two parcels that are north of Highway 97. I'll read into the record the mission statement of the ranch. It's to ensure that the ranch's conservation values, its agricultural productivity, rural characteristics, biodiversity, and scenic vistas are perpetually conserved. The open space will be available for underserved groups and individuals for their endeavors. The ranch intends to create outdoor experiences for groups such as Special Olympics, veteran groups, and police and fire groups, among others. The space will offer a sense of camaraderie and unity among participating communities, with the hope that such bonds will improve the quality of life for all Idahonians. So this will not be open to the general public. I believe what the applicant intends to do is they would book these special groups that would provide them with the number of guests that they would have to give an insight as to the intensity of each event that will take place on site. The ranch will have up to 200 guests for each event, and based on the applicant's narrative that they provided, due to water restrictions, they would host a maximum of 59. They would be the use of the site would be limited to 59 days in total for calendar year for both events and camping, and that is based on the applicant's understanding that the provision of non-potable water for wash water for the RVs and the campsites would not elevate to a public water system. I'll talk about some of the comments that we got through the agency review process further into my presentation. So, as you can see, there's a partial view of the project site. This is Highway 97, this area north of Highway 97, so this parcel to the north, as well as these two parcels south of that, but north of 97 will be utilized. The applicant, here's a close-up. I'll have, here's the site plan, a close-up of what the applicant intends to improve on site. Currently, what staff noticed when doing a site visit, and I'm sure you had done the same thing, is that there is an open-air gazebo that's on the property. We have not been able to find any permits for that structure. So if the use is approved, they would definitely have to get a permit for that prior to resuming their operations. They're also requesting an open air pavilion that will be approximately 4,000 square feet, 10 campsites for tents and RVs, picnic tables, playground, walking trails. They will also provide portable restrooms for sanitary services. And they would like to, as I mentioned before, have non-potable wash water for RV campsites. All potable water will be provided by individuals that come to the site. They will bring their own bottled water for use. The applicants are also proposing a parking area. As of today, it's approximately 50 parking stalls based on review of Article 4.7 of Kootenai County Land Use and Development Code. The open air pavilion would only require 40, one per every 100 square feet of use. So they currently exceed the number of parking spaces that would be required. Of course, based on the applicant's site plan and in their narrative and supplemental narrative, they will be providing accessible routes as well as ADA accessibility parking for the main parking lot for the open air pavilion, as well as one of the 10 campsites will be ADA accessible as well. And they do have ADA accessible wheelchair that will be provided for those individuals in need. As I mentioned, the capacity will be a maximum of 200 individuals at any given time. One of the questions that was raised by staff as well as members of the public is, at least one of them had questioned, what kind of events will be hosted. So we are curious to know, perhaps the engineer or the owner can provide some insight as to what type of events they would hold in terms of what type of activities they would have, whether they would be, there would be any noise, music of some sort. Are they going to be playing any games? So it would be helpful to know, even though they did provide some level of information, it's unclear how the events will be hosted. So we are curious to know, and maybe if there's any concerns on your behalf regarding noise, potential noise or trespass, you could come up with maybe a condition to mitigate that, but that's something that remains to be told. There will be 2 full-time employees that will help manage this site, as well as 1 part-time employee. They will be using, going back to my presentation, where's the aerial? I apologize. So these folks, the individual owns a residence south of Highway 97. So the property owner and manager of the campsite will allow the permanent restroom facilities within their shop for their employees to utilize, but it will not be available to the general public. In speaking with our building official, we determined that that is a non-issue so long as the property owner and manager allows his employees to use the permanent restroom that is off the project area. The quiet hours will be from 10 p.m. to 6 p.m. These are some of the photos of the property in question. The one in the in the upper left is the intersection of Highway 97 and Albion Road. This photo shows the existing gazebo, and there's a fire pit and I think a barbecue grill, as well as some picnic tables, and there are portable restrooms on the property. So it appears that it has been used to some extent as a recreational facility, but we did advise the applicant that they could not advertise it, nor could they commence with operations until this is formally approved by community development. And they were aware of that. They took down the website immediately after after it was brought up to their attention. Through the agency comment period, it appears that none of the agencies had any concerns, with the exception of the Department of Environmental Quality. I do want to point out that the comment came in quite late in the process. In fact, it came in the day before the report was issued. We were working tirelessly to address the concerns. It was staff's understanding that the number of days for the events and camping on site throughout the year would be limited based on the premise of it not qualifying or meeting the threshold of a public water system, because it was only non-potable water for wash water or for RV and campsite use. However, we received a response from DEQ official that questioned the ability, per my conversation over the phone, the ability of the county to enforce non-potable use of the site, of the water system, as well as having the applicant clearly demonstrate that it will only be used for non-potable purposes, being that they have an existing well on site and they are not planning to make any additional improvements. And the response that we got is that they view this, as you can see, they view the proposed non-potable water system meeting the public system standards, or meeting that threshold, and that the improvements, piping, the design would have to go through DEQ approval process. We immediately contact the engineer and advise them of our concern that perhaps their initial thought that this would not rise, the non-potable use of the water system on site would not rise to the level of DEQ review is no longer the case. And the engineer of record, Eric Olson, was very understanding. He advised that he would be in contact with that state agency. However, we did place a condition of approval in the report that any use of the existing well for non-potable or potable reasons has to go through DEQ approval. We find that if DEQ for some reason changes their mind, let's say they decide that they will not pursue or they will not require the review of a system down the road, if they come to an agreement with the applicant that it's only for non-potable use and somehow the owner can give them some level of reassurance that it's not going to be used for potable reasons, that we are okay with them not having to go through that process, but it has to formally come back from DEQ, if that makes sense. I would recommend that perhaps Mr. Olson can provide some additional clarification on how he intends to address this issue. One of the other options that they could have is, of course, they could say, we no longer wish to use the existing well for non-potable reasons as well, and therefore there's not going to be any reason to have DEQ involvement. But that would need to be placed on record. We would have to have some sort of commitment from the applicant either way on how they want to proceed with the DEQ comment. There's also an option for them to come in for a condition modification at some later point if they want to increase the utilization of their site from 15 to 9 days to something greater if they decide not to use the existing well on site, which currently they self-imposed the number of days that they could operate, if that makes sense. Through the public comment period, we received a total of 21 comments before the closing of the public comment period, and 20 of them were in support, including some of the public agencies. The fire district was in support of this. One comment was in opposition with concerns that they're not sure what the intensity of the events will be and what impacts it would have on the adjoining property owners. They were also concerned about legal access. I don't know if they read the staff report where we clearly address the lack of legal access to the project site and that the applicant has to execute a legal access easement over the adjoining parcel of land where Moscow Bay Road is, so that they have perpetual legal and physical access over and across the adjoining parcel of land. So the applicant will be able to mitigate that. And the last comment that the individual in opposition raised is noncompliance with the comprehensive plan. So moving forward with staff recommendation, we are limiting the number of days as well as the number of individuals based on the applicant's proposal. They will be required to execute an access easement across parcel number 4903, 49 North, 03 West, 02 6200, AIN 34086. They will be limited to a maximum of 10 campsites for tent and RV use. They will have to provide appropriate parking if there's a need for additional parking next to the campsite. If they have one for the RV, they would have to provide one additional one for a standard vehicle as well. They must comply with DEQ, as I mentioned, and they have to comply with all the building division building permits for all structures on site, including accessible routes. So it's very important that that is addressed as well, and that is something that our building official will review. With regard to comp plan analysis, typically that's something that you as a hearing examiner does in the report, but we felt that it was important to address that because it was unclear to staff how the project does not comply with the comp plan designation. There's, as I mentioned, there's two comp plan designations of shoreline as well as country. And the primary purpose of the shoreline designation is to ensure non-residential uses are limited to services needed to support resource, seasonal, shoreline, and recreational uses. I don't know how else this project could fit that criteria other than what the applicant has proposed. I think it fits in within that criteria quite well. With regards to country designation, it states that non-residential uses shall be allowed only at a scale and intensity commensurate with the terrain, impact to environmental features, and the rural character of the area. Typical non-residential uses may be considered are those, but not limited to, equipment storage, small convenience stores, fuel stations, and assembly and manufacturing plants. Well, clearly, staff finds that the proposal for outdoor retreat and camping is less likely to create a significant impact on the adjoining parcels of land than those I just listed into the record. So we find that there's really non-issue with the comp plan designations that this project is under. With no additional testimony, my presentation is pretty much done. I stand for any questions that you may have for me at this time.
Yeah, one quick one, and thanks for your presentation. I guess, could you just speak to real quick, there was one issue that was communicated about with access points on Highway 97. Can you just speak to that real quick?
Absolutely, yes. And in fact, I'm sorry, I should have mentioned it, and perhaps Mr. Olson can address that as well. So let me go back to, so here's Albion Road, heading north. Here's Highway 97 intersecting with Albion Road. BLM property is located directly to the east of the subject site. There is an access to the BLM, Bureau of Land Management property, a short distance from Albion Road. Albion Road is a public road, so it's not moving. So one of the recommendations, recommendations from ITD was to have BLM move their access to Albion and abandon the existing one. I don't know if the applicant made contact with BLM, but unfortunately, because BLM is not part of this request, we can't impose any conditions on a property that's outside of the proposed scope of uses. That's a recommendation by a state agency that unfortunately, until that agency comes in to apply for some sort of permit on their site and they're directly impacting, or their project is directly impacting ITD, I don't think we have any legal path to require that they move access on their site. And certainly that access does not impact this project, and neither does this project. So I don't know what else to add to that, except for that may need to be done either on voluntary basis by BLM, or if they go through a project, it will be enforced through conditions of approval.
Thank you very much. All right, Mr. Olson, are you going to present for the applicant? All right.
Yes, I'm going to talk for a little bit. Eric Olson, Olson Engineering, and then I'm going to let Shelby, the ranch manager, talk for a little bit as well. Vlad did a good job on the presentation. I don't have too much to add or to correct. I guess Shelby is the ranch manager, and he does reside there. He's not the owner of the ranch, just the manager. The owner is the Ashley Foundation, which is a nonprofit group. Our position is that the roads mentioned, that there are prescriptive access easements on that, nothing written prescriptive on those roads. However, in order to satisfy the inquiries, Shelby reached out to John Brown, who owns the land that's in question. I believe Mr. Brown is here today as well, and I don't think there will be an issue finalizing an easement on that road. We just wanted to make sure that this was going to go through before we took that step. As far as the Highway 97 access points go, we did not contact BLM. That approach isn't heavily used. There's a few hiking trails over there, and there's like five parking spots. There's good sight distance, so I don't personally see it as a big concern. ITD likes to consolidate approaches. I'm sure that we would be amenable to, if they wanted to move it and come off of Albion through in the vicinity, I'm sure that we would do what we could to facilitate. So, as you know, the required findings for you to approve a conditional use permit, procedural requirements, I believe those have been met, otherwise we wouldn't be standing here. No variances. We are not suggesting any variances. Compatibility, site hazards, environmental, social impacts, those types of things. Vlad's done a good job of covering that, and it's covered pretty well in the staff report. It's the one thing that has been brought up that stands out. Under conditions of approval, it says the proposal will meet the duly adopted requirements of other agencies with jurisdiction. So as mentioned, we had an 11th hour comment come in from DEQ. The end of the agency comment period was near the end of July, and DEQ did not provide comment until September 12th. I immediately emailed the engineering manager over there and basically asked her why she was thinking this is a public water system. Didn't receive a response. I emailed again on Tuesday, told her I'd like a response before the hearing, and still received no response. Our position is that this is clearly not a public water system. I'm going to read to you, and then if I may, I'll give you the requirement from IDAPA 580108, Idaho Rules for Public Drinking Water Systems. A public drinking water system is a system for the provision to the public for human consumption through pipes or other constructed conveyances if such system has at least 15 service connections, regardless of the number of water sources or configuration of the distribution system, or regularly serves an average of at least 25 individuals daily, at least 60 days out of the year. It's very clear. In the past, in my dealings with DEQ, basically never brought a water system to them that they didn't consider to be a public water system. They're one of the agencies locally that we as engineers deal with that, quite frankly, I feel overreaches their rules. And so I guess with that, the other point I wanted to make is that it doesn't really matter if it's potable or non-potable as far as the rules go. Our position, or my position, is we could actually serve potable water if we did it less than 60 days out of the year. We're taking the step to label the frost-free hydrant out there as non-potable for the protection of the public, but that's not really, it's really a very simple issue, is the system being used more than 59 days out of the year? In the past dealings with DEQ, they've taken the position that, well, it's really hard to monitor, so we're just going to call it a public water system. So with that said, and also stating that I feel like condition 8.14 is an unnecessary layer of regulation, in that if DEQ wants to try to take enforcement action on this, they still can. It doesn't matter if it's in it. It just wouldn't go through the county. So I would ask that you consider removal of that condition. And but I would also state we can live with it if we have to. So with that, I'm going to introduce Shelby to speak a little bit about the events that have been held there and what they're planning to do in the future.
All right, great, thank you.
Did you have any questions?
I was going to ask you about the water, so
yeah,
you got there. Thank you very much.
Okay, right on. Oh, if I may.
Yes, please, we'll make it part of the record.
Read into the record is HE 2001.
All right, name and address for the record, please.
Good evening. My name is Shelby Salisbury. I'm the Ashley Foundation Flat Ranch manager and board member. Our address is 13282 South Highway 97 out of Harrison, Idaho. I've been at the ranch since the very beginning, since 2014. Sitting behind me today is Chase, who's my assistant manager, and we have a board member that's sitting in the back, that's Dr. Stephen Liss. Our founder, Mike Ashley, who passed away 4 years ago, wanted a place that would not be developed into housing and condos, to leave the natural beauty of the lake and the mountains. Mr. Ashley wanted to help others. Where our ranch and our activities are completely free from the generosity of Mr. Ashley. Our target groups are military, special needs groups, police, fire, and other emergency management services. I feel that these people are out on the front line that have helped us at our worst point in our lives. And when they show up and help with whatever situation is going on and make the best of it. And these are the people that we want to help and give them an area that they can recreate. We do have rescue animals. It's a beautiful thing to see these animals bring joy to other people's lives, and the animals get to live their life out peacefully on the ranch. The idea of the campground started when me and my brother were little kids. Our dad was a police officer, and he, when we go camping and he saw somebody that maybe that he had arrested in the past, he didn't feel comfortable with us being as kids being there, so we'd have to leave. And so that's where this whole idea came into place. The idea for the gazebo would just be for a fun place for people to enjoy having lunch, a small gathering with our target groups. I want to thank you for your time tonight and Vlad's time, and thank you to everyone that showed up tonight to support us. Eric or Chase, is there anything that I've missed tonight that you guys would like to cover? And then do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, I think Mr. Finkel alluded to it, as well as members of the public and myself would be interested to maybe have you describe a little bit more of the activities that would take place.
Yeah, so some of the things that we do, and I didn't know that we needed to go through this process with things that we've done. But some of the things we do is I work with a variety of different special needs groups that are local here. SNR is one of the groups. They come out, they bring maybe 15 people. They come out, and we do a little hike around the property, and our hike consists of maybe 200 yards. They get to go through the animal pens and see our rescue animals. All those animals have had a tough life, and so it's pretty cool to see, that they get to hold a baby goat now or see a rescue horse and maybe walk it. So that's on that side of stuff. For the military groups and police, Kootenai County, they land their helicopter up there, once a year and do a dog training. It's an easy access for them to land, to do the training, and then leave for the day. They also have done dog training. And then Eastside Fire District, in our facility behind in our shop, our private facility, we have had them come out and do a small gathering where they did appreciation night and a barbecue for their people. So those are the sort of things that we do or have done. And yeah, did that answer all your questions?
Yeah, I guess just real quick also, because the maximum capacity is going to be 200 people.
Sure.
I think person doesn't know the situation could think 200 people are going to all of a sudden be here.
Sure.
It's going to be a big party.
And that was the max that we put on there. We've never, I don't think we ever would reach that even. I'm talking about groups, it's 15 people. When you have special needs kids, and I don't know if everybody in here has worked with them before, but you have to be very cautious if they're around a pond, if they're around. So we have our staff and then their staff, and make sure that, we have at least 2 of us for every one of the kids for safety reasons. And so that's very small groups. It's not, I can't think of a group that we'd ever have that would be 200 unless it was the sheriff's office or something like that, doing a big dog training or something like that with multiple agencies or something like that. But that doesn't happen. They do them once a year usually. Or search and rescue. That could be 75 people, depending on their group and their size. Every year kind of varies. But yeah, if that came out, then we'd keep it under that group, and I'd work with them on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. If you'd like to come up and speak, please do. Just state your name and address for the record, please.
Yeah, my name's Chase Salisbury. I'm at 13282 South Highway 97, Harrison, Idaho. I don't have much to say, but I just wanted to reiterate about the groups that are there. So, and that it's all free, but again, very limited use since it's, a small private facility. And like the camp trailers, we're no KOA by any means. I mean, we're limited use. If a family or like the sheriff's office, for example, if they're traveling from, I don't know, Western Washington, and they want to stay the night and bring their family for the weekend, that's kind of our goal, is that they could stay the night and have that relaxing weekend. They're already working that weekend. I mean, they work many weekends, so we're hoping that they could at least, stay the night, have a campfire, and that's about it. So I don't think that, 1 or 2 camp trailers on a weekend is going to affect that road. So I know that's one of the concerns, is the condition of the road. So it's not that there's 200, people going to a giant event or something like that, or along those lines on the weekends. It's going to be, camp trailers are very limited use. Other than that, yeah, I think that's about really what I got. I think you've covered most of the events and special needs groups. I mean, very small groups, typically about 15 people. So, yeah, I think that's, if that helps at all with, describing our events that we do.
Absolutely, thank you.
I just want to touch one more time on there's a question on and others, and some of the public commenting. And others, what that meant to me was if we had a group out that supported, they were doing a small gathering or event or something to raise money for, let's say, our military or something like that. That was kind of the and others. We've also had and maybe they're not all military by any means, but they're raising money for that. And that's where we kind of wanted the and other end, that's saying, well, the guy is not military, but they're raising money for that. And so that's where that and other comes in at. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, anything else from the applicants before we move to public comment? All right. Again, I'm just going to go in the order I have it here. You don't have to, but I'm going to give everybody who wrote their name down an opportunity, as well as anyone else who came in who wants to speak. So first up, I have Stephen Liss. So please just come on up and state your name and address for the record, and again, you have up to 5 minutes.
I'm Dr. Stephen Liss. My address is 14121 South Highway 97. I adjoin the property on 2 sides. I'm just south and east of the property, probably 3/4 of a mile of fence line, or a little more, a little less. I've had the pleasure of being on the board of the foundation since its inception, and I knew Mike Ashley quite personally, and we actually had a drink or 2 together before his passing. And I can say that as a board member, I've participated in many of the events, and the smiles and happy faces are a wonderful thing to see. And they're great neighbors, and I think it's a wonderful asset for the county and the community, and as a neighbor, I couldn't ask for anything better. So that's all I have to say.
Great. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, very good.
Merlin Verts may wish to speak.
How you doing?
Good evening.
I was born and raised here. I used to hunt from the Eddyville Road over to Peterson's Ranch. Mr. Peterson was kind of a funny about letting you hunt on his place. But I always enjoyed it at the time, if you took care of the place as far as like not trashing somebody's gate or throwing paper and junk around, I mean, it was just common courtesy. But this ranch, I thought would have been by the wayside long time ago, because it's a big, vast piece of ground. And as far as I'm concerned, it's, if not the nicest, one of the nicest ranches that ever exist in this area. And my dad used to hunt. There was many apple orchards and stuff in there. And it's beautiful ground. And now people have come to a point where you can't hunt across their ground anymore because they're too, I guess would you say, private with it or whatever. To me, closing off a place where you can't hunt is like closing off a basketball court. And to me, I've always enjoyed it, you know, to be able to go out there and go hunting. But that's besides the point. As far as like this Ashley Foundation, I see smiles on people's faces, you know, like challenged kid, this challenged kid, far as like we went to this one event and this kid had a really nice camera. And he was really involved with, he was taking pictures of the animals. I mean, he was smiling and he was having a good time. And I was having a good time just watching this kid. But far as like with the sheriff's department, they work their dogs. Far as the fire department guys, they go out there and they do different drills and stuff. I think it's a godsend to this area that that place, that piece of ground is set up for different events and so forth. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Oh, and Kathleen Verts, would you like to comment?
Hi, I'm Kathleen Verts. We live at 13707 South Highway 97. We share our east fence with the Ashley Foundation. I agree with Merlin totally. The ranch was in complete disrepair when the Ashley Foundation bought it, took it over, and started the improvements. It's beautiful. It's beyond well kept. The events that we've shared with them have been high quality, amazing events for our first responders. We've been to several special needs, and I just hope that the county will approve this, because we as a community need some place that, like Shelby mentioned, first responders can come and feel safe, can do what they need to do, and have fun with their families in a place that is tremendously beautiful. So we appreciate you for the time that you've done, for the, hopefully the agreement that you'll give them, and also for the opportunity to speak. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, I do have Kim Liss as does not wish to speak. Is that still true? Okay. All right, and I do have Jerry Brown does not wish to speak. Is that still true? Okay. All right. Are there still people on Zoom?
Yes, Mr. Hearing Examiner. I can go down one by one and ask them. Coming up first, we have Terry Reagan. Terry, would you wish to speak?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Jared Jonas, would you wish to speak?
No, thanks.
Okay. Melissa Frail, would you wish to speak? Melissa did leave a chat, and she's just wanted to express her concerns and hoping the applicant could discuss the sound ordinance or quiet hours that may go along with live music.
Yeah, we 26.
Oh, there she is.
Hey guys, sorry I was on mute. I talked to Shelby about this project, and after I spoke to him, I was in a opposition to it. But now I believe in what they're doing, and I support their cause. And I really like him taking the time out of his day to explain to me what exactly they wanted to do. The only concern I think as a neighbor is just trash, noise, and traffic, right? So as long as those things are maintained and managed, I don't see any issue with this. I'd much rather see this property be used for this kind of a charitable foundation versus, any other commercial use that it could be used for. And I feel like, after speaking with Shelby, that I do support what they're trying to do out there. And I think that, it's everything that the neighborhood would like to see. So besides noise, trash, and traffic, and that road is a gravel road, Albion is, and it's just going to be a difficult one to maintain. So it'll be interesting to see the entry point and how that's like navigated. But other than that, I feel like the Ashley Foundation is a really great neighbor to have in the neighborhood. But that was all a concern that we had as neighbors.
Okay, thank you very much. Is there anyone else?
Two more. Shalem, would you wish to unmute and speak? Shalem, now's your chance.
No, thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem. And one more. Tony F., would you like to speak?
No, thank you.
Okay.
That's all, Mr. Hearing Examiner.
All right, thank you very much. Is there anyone else here who wishes to speak? All right, I guess you first come on up, state your name and address for the record, and you have up to 5 minutes.
My name is Stan Haller. I live at 14058 South Highway 97, and my property is on the other side of Highway 97, and it borders the Ashley Foundation. I knew Mike personally. I've known Shelby ever since he got on over there. I've done work for these guys, and their cause is just absolutely phenomenal for what this guy is. He's put his heart and soul into this ranch to do what he's doing, and I support it 100%. So.
Great, thank you very much. I saw, sir, you might want to give comment. Okay.
John Brown, 7501 East Stoll Road. We border probably the largest portion of land that borders the Ashley Foundation. Compared to what was going on a few years ago up there with development, this is a godsend to what has happened. At one time, you probably remember, it was going to be a golf course and 500 residents up there. They have taken that property, they beautified it, they brought it back to where Odine Peterson really originally had it. We've been there, our family's been there since 1900, so even before Highway 97 was put in. The goal of our family is to try and keep it pristine, keep it undeveloped. They have met that to no unforeseeable reason would they do anything but that. We hope that ours can stay as it is. We hope that they are able to keep it as is, because anymore it's hard for anybody to go out anywhere and see what they have, what we have up there, as far as animals. And you can go out anywhere and see deer and elk. We saw a bear the other day, moose come through. It's one of the best places on the lake to see eagles. And so it is a natural area. Their goal is to keep it that way with very little improvements. Excuse me, he neglected to mention a few things that they do. For instance, one of them is they have a Easter egg hunt up there, a phenomenal thing. They did an archery shoot. Here's all these little kids all the way through up there that did that. We hear, and the helicopter's flying over all of a sudden. Everybody wonders. Shelby gives us heads up. Oh, it's just search and rescue. They're out there doing their things. The other day, there were probably 30 or 40 officers up there doing their little annual thing. And the people that I have talked to about this, even most of the residents are for it. Their concerns basically is, the road and this and that. The road's not an issue. If you go up there and watch the road, that Albion right now has probably 30 to 40 people going in and out of that every day, just with the residents that live up there. And so, and I know Shelby's worked on the road, so have we. And we will definitely make it better if need be. And I've already mentioned to Shelby, we will work with him as far as an easement across our property. And so in conclusion, we're for it as far as that goes. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. All right, well, this is going to be the last call for public comment. All right, Mr. Finkel, did you have something else?
I did hear, at least from a couple different individuals, that there are events that are currently happening. I want to advise on the record the applicant, as well as let you know that we cannot authorize having them conduct any events until the Board of County Commissioners approves their request.
Yeah, we've stopped.
All right, thank you for that, Mr. Finkel. And thank you for wanting to do the right thing and stopping your operations until this can be decided. I just will say as a final point, I'm going to write a recommendation without hinting what that recommendation will be. I'm going to get that turned around real quick to staff, and it's going to go in front of your county commissioners for their decision. And I wish you good luck in front of them with this as well. So I believe I have enough information in the record on which to base my recommendation. So without any other administrative matters or anything else, then I am going to, oh, yes, sir.
Will you publish your recommendations?
I send it to the staff, and does that go up on the website?
Yes, it will be uploaded to the project file in IMS. And Mr. Olson can contact me, or I will email him a copy of it as soon as it's submitted.
Okay.
How will the public, how will I know when your recommendations are posted?
So it will be within 2 weeks, and it usually gets posted to the website pretty quickly, right?
Same day.
Same day that I send it in. I have up to 2 weeks. Sometimes it takes me the full 2 weeks for my other jobs, et cetera. But I will try to have it done as soon as possible. I'm not sure if there's a way for them to notify you directly. But within 2 weeks of tonight's hearing, it'll be posted on the city's website.
So we should just vote every day?
I would recommend, I'll give you my business card as soon as we are done, and you can contact me directly and I'll let you know.
Thank you.
There you go, sir. All right. Thank you for your interest in that. Normally people don't ask to see my recommendations. So with that, yes, it is 7:18 p.m. I'm going to close the record and close tonight's hearing for CUP 23-0015 Flying Arrow Ranch. Thank you all very much for coming tonight.